Okay, let's just jump right into it. We are looking at a truly monumental shift coming to India's biggest medical entrance exam. For years, I mean literally years, students have poured their absolute hearts and souls into preparation, only to have their dreams completely shattered by systemic failures. We're talking about a situation that left thousands of students quite literally in tears. But finally, all that desperation and all those protests have forced a historic response from the government. The traditional pen and paper format of Neet is officially coming to an end.
We know this is a highly emotional, super confusing topic for so many families. So, in this explainer, we're going to break it down step by step. First, the breaking point. Then, enter the CBT era. After that, what actually changes, followed by the screen anxiety. And finally, we'll ask if this is a band-aid or a real cure.
Section 1. The breaking point. To really grasp why this massive change is happening, you have to feel the sheer desperation of the students who were just pushed to the absolute edge. You can trace this heartbreak right across the last couple of years. We had the first major leak allegations in May 2024. Then, the situation totally boiled over in May 2026 when a second massive paper leak forced the authorities to completely cancel the nationwide exam. That led to heartbroken students and groups like the CJP taking to the streets in these huge nationwide protests. And by July 2026, even the Supreme Court acknowledged that, yes, leaks had undoubtedly occurred, highlighting some very severe vulnerabilities in the system.
And the human cost of this crisis? It was staggering. As reported by The Pioneer, these protests weren't just about delayed careers. Students were demanding 1 crore rupees in compensation for the families of aspirants who tragically took their own lives after the exam got canceled. So this wasn't just some administrative hiccup. It was a broken system that was literally costing young people their lives and their futures, pushing the whole student community into this state of deep, deep grief.
Section 2. Enter the CBT era.
Think about this number for a second. Over 2.2 million aspirants sit for this exam every single year. For those millions of students whose dreams were essentially held hostage by physical paper leaks, a monumental announcement finally brought this massive wave of relief.
The Union Education Minister made it official. Starting in 2027, the exam is shifting completely to a computer-based test, or CBT. That familiar, anxiety-inducing ritual of black ballpoint pens and bubbling OMR sheets? It's officially dead. This is the government's ultimate answer to the agonizing vulnerabilities of using physical paper.
The goal here is obvious, right? Build a fundamentally safer environment. By getting rid of physical question papers entirely, the government is instantly locking down those transit windows where leaks historically always happen. There's no more massive printing presses, no more warehouse storage, and no more vulnerable transport trucks to worry about. Instead, questions are going to be delivered via encrypted digital transmission right to the computer screens, which severely reduces the chances for insider collusion.
Section 3. What actually changes?
So what does this actually mean for you sitting in the exam hall in 2027? Well, look, if you've ever literally cried over bubbling the wrong circle on an OMR sheet and losing those precious marks, you are going to absolutely love the CBT format. You get a clear response button to change your answers freely. It's a lifesaver. However, because you obviously can't put 2.2 million students in front of computers all at exactly the same time, the exam is now going to be spread out over multiple shifts across 6 days. This means the NTA has to use an algorithmic normalization process to balance out the difficulty between the different test sessions.
But hey, take a deep breath, because the actual core of the exam, it's not changing one bit. It is still 720 marks. Still 180 compulsory questions, strictly based on the NCERT syllabus for physics, chemistry, and biology. Same marking scheme, same 13 languages. You'll even still get a physical scribble pad for your ref calculations. Literally, the only thing changing is how the test is delivered to you.
Section 4. The screen anxiety.
Now, while CBT definitely solves the physical paper leak issue, transitioning from paper to screens is a pretty massive psychological leap for a lot of people. Some students are genuinely terrified of screen fatigue or just accidentally clicking the wrong button. But, interestingly enough, a fascinating study from a medical journal actually found that digital exams can make students less nervous overall.
The numbers actually back this up. When researchers looked at preparatory medical students, they found a statistically significant drop in test anxiety when they used a computer compared to traditional pen and paper. The mean anxiety score dropped from 3.90 on paper down to just 2.48 on a computer. Why? Mostly because you aren't stressing about permanent shading errors, and the digital interface just allows for much quicker navigation. But we have to be real here.
that digital comfort is not universal. Educator Dr. Anand Mani makes a really crucial point. For rural students, or those who just don't have reliable access to computers growing up, staring at a screen could create a massive, unfair psychological disadvantage. I mean, if your very first time using a computer interface under pressure is on the day that literally decides your medical career, the technology itself becomes a huge barrier.
Section 5. Band-Aid or real cure?
And this brings us to the ultimate debate surrounding this massive reform. Is the computer screen the savior everyone's been waiting for, or are we just missing the bigger picture? Critics argue that while screens absolutely stop physical leaks, we have to ask if digitizing the exam is just putting a Band-Aid over a much, much deeper systemic wound.
Publications like The Wire point out a stark contrast between tech solutions and structural reform. Instead of just relying on a highly centralized, algorithm-driven computer test, some reformers suggest we need a federal model that restores state autonomy over admissions. They advocate for multiple pathways into medical colleges, things like aptitude tests, school performance, and interviews. The argument is that as long as one single centralized exam determines the fate of 2.2 million students, the insanely high stakes will always create powerful economic incentives for corruption and extreme stress, regardless of whether the test is on paper or on a screen.
So as the unimaginable stress and the heartbreak of 2.2 million students forces this historic shift to computers in 2027, we want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Is the ultimate goal of our education system to build a highly secure digital test? Or is it to build better, more empathetic doctors? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and keep questioning the systems that shape our future.